Most men think rebuilding trust means proving to their wife that they've changed and that she can trust them again. But the truth is, trying to prove it can actually make her trust you less. So today I'm going to break down the 4 reasons why your wife may still not trust you, and pay close attention to reason number 3, because that is the one where everything you are doing to gain that trust back with her can go off the rails in a hurry. So let's jump into reason number 1. Your words have outrun your history. Credit to a lot of guys out there that when they reach the point in their marriage where it's in serious trouble, they at least finally wake up a little bit. Whether it's a conversation about separation, her telling you she's emotionally done, or divorce filing is already set in motion, it will give you that sudden feeling that everything she has been saying for the last few years starts hitting you very differently. For the guys that truly care, you're going to start to almost do an accountability checklist and start to realize, wow, I really wasn't listening, or I was really getting defensive all the time. Like, I did keep putting work ahead of the family. The next instinct is that you naturally want to tell your wife that you get it now and you swear this is going to be different. Things that you've said before, but you really mean it this time. And you know what? You probably do. Like, genuinely do mean it. Like, way more than you've ever meant it before. However, she doesn't have the key card that gives her access to what's happening inside your head. The only thing she has access to is her history with you. Think of a bridge that you drive across like almost daily to get to and from work. Or maybe you're in a smaller town that has that, one bridge to get into the main street, whatever it is. And there have been 3 times over the last little while where that bridge has had major structural issues, like pieces have fallen off to the water below. They've had to shut it down multiple times to try and repair what they think the problem is. You drive there one morning and the county or the municipality has thrown up a big sign right before the bridge that says, "Good news, the bridge is 100% safe now." Maybe you will take that sign at face value and believe it, but as you get closer to that bridge and you kind of start to go over it, you're probably going to have that thoughts of, "Come on, please, please," running through your head, and you're going to grip the steering wheel a little bit tighter. That sign is new. Your experience dealing with so many troubles on that bridge, that's not new. That is what a lot of guys miss when they become frustrated that their wife is not immediately responding to their attempts at change. You may have just come to the biggest realization you've had in 10 years, or maybe ever. She's looking at it as just another promise sitting beside a long line of promises, unfulfilled or maybe at least half-filled. Now, that doesn't mean she will never believe you, but you have to be prepared and understand you can't expect a few conversations and good intentions to outweigh the years of experience overnight. If she already does not trust your words fully, giving her another dose is not going to solve the problem. But along the road to getting trust rebuilt, there is another mistake that can happen even when you get in the trenches of these interactions with her, where she does talk about what's happened before and how she has felt. Reason number 2 is that you keep defending your intentions. Your wife tells you that she has really felt like this for a long time and that she's come second to you and that she didn't matter as much as X, Y, or Z. Now, your first thought may be a very authentic one, knowing deep down that she did and does matter to you. And she tells you that you never listened to her and that she's felt very alone. And what does your brain do? Pretty much all of us guys, our brain's going to do the same thing. We go through the history of all these moments that evidence where you were doing things to show her that she matters and that she wasn't alone. What about when I took off work so that we could do that for you? What about that trip we went on? What about everything I do to try and provide for this family? I mean, strictly speaking, you are right that you care and that you're trying and that you have those memories and moments of evidence to back it up. So us as men, we get stuck in this cycle of rebutting all of her experiences emotionally with proof of our intentions through these various moments. It's like you and I are in a coffee shop and you just got your fresh cup and you turn around too quickly without looking and you bump into me and it dumps all over me. You may immediately become incredibly apologetic. Like, "I am so sorry, I didn't mean it at all." And I'm going to know that you didn't intentionally throw coffee on me, but my leg is still going to be burning. Your intention explains that you didn't do it on purpose, but that doesn't magically remove the feeling of my leg just burning. So it's a frustrating situation to be in as a man where you are a decent man. You love your wife. You have good intentions, but you still create a repeat experience for her over time that really hurts trust. So trying to get into this match where you're defending your intentions so often, while factually true, is telling her that her interpretation of her overall experience should be different. Essentially, you were invalidating how she feels, when those feelings have been formed over years of experiencing patterns. You're really just reinforcing the exact things she's trying to tell you, where she's going to continue to believe that you don't understand her and she can't trust you. You don't want to be left clueless when you are so frustrated that your wife doesn't tell you anything anymore, but when she finally does, you listen and invalidate her feelings, then spend another 20 minutes explaining why she misunderstood your response. Like, you have to see the connection there. But even if you get really good at listening, validating her emotions, and even stop defending every intention, there is still one place where all of this gets tested. And it is not when you and your wife are sitting calmly at the kitchen table. It's when she says something you not only don't agree with, but you really don't want to hear. Reason number 3, your change disappears when things get hard. When you are actually starting to make some good changes, a big mistake is to measure your change by time passed. You have this arbitrary thought process where you've been doing X for this long. Why am I not getting Y back? For example, I've been doing really well for 3 weeks. I haven't argued with her in a month, and so on and so forth. Those are good things. I'm not taking anything away from those things. But the question is, how hard were those 3 weeks for you? The reason I ask is because anybody can commit to looking emotionally strong when nothing is really testing them. It's kind of like an office fire drill. I remember working in corporate and my office was on the 11th floor. So we would have these periodic fire drills like all companies have. And when the alarm went off, everybody would take their time, figure out what they should bring, bring their wallet, grab a coffee, send that last email, kind of joke around, make their way to the stairs and walk calmly down with a lot of chatter. Nobody was panicking, people were prepared and knew which exit to take and would joke around with the fire wardens on the floor. You get across the street to the designated meeting place and everything was all good. The only real decision you had to make was, do I try and get on an elevator with everybody else to be first back up, or go grab a coffee and wait for the mass crowd to subside who are all going to do the same thing as well? But the real test is what happens when there's actually an emergency. And there was one time. I kid you not. We heard a big explosion and the alarms went off. And the faces of everybody in the office were not the same as the fire drill. People were panicking, weren't sure if they were supposed to take the elevator, weren't sure which exit to take, if they should grab their stuff or not. Complete disconnect from when it was just a drill. There ended up being an actual transformer explosion under the building that really funneled smoke directly into all the floors of the tower. Nobody was hurt, but smoke filled the building for 8 hours before the fire department could put it out, basically rendering the building unusable. We had to work from home for the next month until they figured out the temp office solution. But the point is, when it came down to a real deal, most people couldn't remember what they were supposed to do. Same thing when you're trying to make those changes and you can be okay, practice your emotional regulation, and tell yourself you're going to stay grounded and not chase her. Then, a few weeks later, your wife tells you that she does notice you're trying, but still doesn't know if she wants to stay married. Now we find out what has actually changed and what happens when it is no longer a drill. Do you immediately start going back at her and plead with her to give you more time for the changes to kick in, almost seeking approval for them? Do you get angry or frustrated at her? Because if you do, it will be in those moments where she will snap back and you're going to let her confirmation bias be like, yup, there's the guy I know. Easy stretches can look like progress for you, but the real test of trust is whether the new behavior survives the moments that historically has triggered the old pattern. I've had guys on calls tell me word for word, like, I know what I'm supposed to do. The problem is that when she gets cold with me again, everything I learned goes out the window. That is the gap. The best evidence of change is really how you behave when the relationship stops rewarding you. And that leads directly into the last reason. Because if your ability to keep changing depends on whether your wife gives you the reaction you want, then you may still be approaching trust in the wrong way. Reason number 4, you're trying to get trust instead of becoming trustworthy. Another trap guys fall into once they start doing relationship work is becoming very outcome focused. I apologize. I gave her space. I stopped arguing. I started trying to listen more. So it's like, when is this going to give me the result I deserve? That's the hidden meaning underneath all those thoughts. You're starting to kind of turn trust into transactions. You start doing good things, but every good thing comes with an invisible invoice attached. That is not trust building anymore. It's negotiation where you're basically saying, I did the work, now you owe me this outcome. Trust is not a vending machine. You can't put 5 good behaviors in and press B2 so you can pop out a wife trust me again certificate. That is why your focus has to shift from trying to build trust with her to becoming the guy who is trustworthy through his actions and behavior. You control whether you tell the truth, whether you keep your word, whether you are handling boundaries properly, but you do not control the exact moment she says she trusts you again. That part belongs to her. And this is where your identity matters so much. You have to show up for yourself to make that identity transformation to be a trustworthy man, whether she's ready to recognize it yet or not. That will change everything for you because now this is your internal standard. There's no invoice for her and no like, look how much I changed you're going to get from her. You're just living differently through that internal standard you set. And over time, if she keeps experiencing a version of you that does not match the old pattern, that is where trust can be rebuilt and felt by her. When you know your wife doesn't trust you anymore, you have to resist the urge to immediately ask yourself, how can you convince her that she can? When you shift your focus toward becoming consistently different instead of trying to win the argument about whether you deserve her trust or not, you will see a much different result start to form. So if that result is something you want, that identity transformation where you can create the trust again and really strengthen your relationship when it's at a very damaged point, that is exactly why I created my free Relationship Rebuild Masterclass. In the masterclass, I take you much deeper into what is actually happening underneath these interactions and the framework you can start using to rebuild yourself, rebuild emotional stability, and create the best conditions possible for trust and connection to return. So if you're serious about changing this and you really want a guided path instead of just collecting another 50 random relationship tips, go watch that free masterclass through the link provided in the description and pinned comment below. And if you are already making changes right now, but your wife keeps telling you she does not believe those changes are real, watch this video next.